You are 51 years old. Your mortgage has 2 years left. You have $680,000 in your RRSP. Your kids are through school. By every number you were taught to care about, you've done the work. And yet, at 2 in the morning, you're running the numbers again. Not because something changed, because something in your brain won't let the numbers land. What if the market drops? What if I live to 95? What if my spreadsheet is wrong? I need you to hear something. That question, that specific nagging 2 a.m. question, is not a financial problem. It's a neurological one. And today, I'm going to explain exactly why it happens, what it's costing you in decisions you're probably not aware you're making, and the evidence-based framework that closes the gap between what your spreadsheet says and what your brain believes. I'm Toyin, a CPA and financial planner here in Canada. I'm glad you're here. Today, I want to name something that gets almost no airtime in financial media. And not because it isn't happening, because it doesn't fit the save more, optimize more narrative. What happens when the numbers say you're fine, but your brain refuses to believe it? This is the most important financial conversation for people at your life stage, and it's one nobody is having. This phenomenon has a name: financial dysmorphia. It's the gap between your actual financial reality and your perceived financial reality. It is not a clinical diagnosis. It is a documented behavioral pattern, and it's most pronounced in financially literate, high-achieving people. If you spend any time in FIRE communities, the financial independence retire early subreddits, you'll see this pattern documented constantly. People posting essentially, is it humble bragging? Or is the gap between what we have and what we feel so wide that none of us actually know when we have enough? And the most upvoted replies are routinely the same. Somebody admitting plainly that they cannot comprehend $3 million, $5 million not being enough for someone else. These are people who, by definition, have done more financial planning than the general population. And even there, the gap between what the math says and what the brain believes is the most discussed thread. If you've ever read something like that and felt a quiet sense of recognition, this video is for you. Here's the first source of the gap: the amygdala, the part of your brain that handles emotional learning and threat detection, does not timestamp memories. A financial shock at 28, a job loss, a period of scarcity, a family bankruptcy, watching a parent lose a house, encodes as a threat pattern that fires with the same intensity at 48, even though your circumstances are completely different. Your brain is a prediction machine. It is not a reality machine. It predicts based on the most emotionally charged data it has. And if your most emotionally charged financial memories are about not having enough, that's the lens it uses, regardless of your current balance. The research on this is solid. Childhood financial adversity has measurable, decades-long effects on adult amygdala activity in response to threat, independent of the person's current income. Your bank account today does not overwrite what your nervous system learned when you were 12. This is not weakness. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that the design was built for a financial reality you no longer live in. Source 2. You don't compare yourself to the median. You compare yourself to the most financially visible members of your peer group. And that benchmark is always at the top. This is not a personal failing. It's a documented mechanism. Social psychologist Leon Festinger described it in 1954. Upward social comparison is the default for high achievers. We compare up, not down. It's how we got to where we are. The personal finance version of this is brutal. A colleague who retires early, an article about somebody's $2 million portfolio, a peer's lifestyle upgrade. Each one of those data points silently recalibrates your enough threshold upward. Your peer group's ceiling becomes your floor. And a floor that keeps rising means you are never standing on solid ground. You're not anxious because you have too little. You're anxious because the reference point keeps moving. I want to name the actual financial cost of this, beyond the emotional toll, because there are 3 documented behavioral consequences of financial anxiety at this level, and they each have a number attached. 1. Oversaving past the point of utility, working longer than you need to, forgoing experiences with genuine retirement value because the spreadsheet says more. 2. Overly conservative allocation, moving to cash or GICs in a portfolio with a 20+ year horizon, permanently reducing long-term returns to soothe a short-term feeling. 3. Paralysis at transition points, not retiring when the math says you can, not making the planned financial move because the anxiety says wait. Financial anxiety at this stage is not just uncomfortable, it has a measurable cost. And it's a cost you cannot optimize your way out of, because the problem isn't the spreadsheet. Quick pause. If you're getting value from this, subscribing helps me keep making evidence-based content for Canadians at this exact life stage. There's no algorithm gimmick here. This is genuinely a small channel doing a specific job, and every subscriber matters. Back to it. Here is the third source of gap, and this one is the most fixable. Generic retirement benchmarks are the wrong measuring tool. You need $1 million. You need 25 times your annual expenses. You need to replace 80% of your pre-retirement income. These rules exist because they're simple to communicate, not because they're accurate for any specific person. The goalpost problem is this: when your target is generic, it can never be fully reached because it was never specifically yours. Your actual retirement income replacement number is not a multiple, it is a calculation. Your actual retirement spending forecast minus CPP, OAS, and any pension income, minus the housing costs that disappear when the mortgage is paid. That's the number. What financial planners would do this calculation routinely report, and what the underlying actuarial research consistently shows, is that the first time someone runs this number properly, the reaction is almost always the same. The number is smaller than the anxiety predicted. And when it's smaller, the anxiety doesn't disappear immediately, but it relocates. Because anxiety without an address haunts everything. Anxiety with an address is a math problem. And math problems have solutions. I want to talk you through a comparison. 2 profiles, same age, 54, same general wealth level, same pre-retirement income, but very different relationships with their portfolio. Diane has $580,000. She checks her portfolio daily. She reads every market headline. She has shifted her allocation to something more conservative 3 times in the last 10 years. She spends about 45 minutes a week on financial anxiety. Carol has $410,000. She set up automatic contributions at 35. She checks quarterly. She has not changed her allocation once. She has not read a market headline in 6 months. 3 decision points. Decision point 1, age 45. Market drops 18%. Diane moves 30% of her portfolio to GICs. Carol does nothing. Diane re-enters the market 8 months later and misses the recovery. Dollar cost at 54, about $47,000. Decision point 2, age 49. Diane reads about sequence of returns risk, shifts from 70/30 to 40/60, 16 years before retirement. Carol doesn't change. The cost of premature de-risking on $580,000 over 16 years at a 1.8% annualized return differential, about $193,000. Decision point 3, age 52. Diane consults a third financial advisor in 4 years, paying $3,500 a year in fees as she shops for reassurance rather than planning. Carol has one advisor and reviews annually. 10-year fee differential, about $35,000. Carol does not have more money than Diane because she made better financial decisions. She has more money because she made fewer of them. And she made fewer of them because she had a lower anxiety relationship with her portfolio, not because her situation was more secure. Here's what I want to offer you. The calculation most anxious investors have never actually done is their real retirement income replacement number. Not a multiple, not a benchmark, their specific number from their actual life. I run this calculation regularly, and the most consistent finding, what planners who do this work routinely report, what Vertiz documents directly in his actuarial research, is that the number is almost always smaller than the anxiety predicted. Not always, but almost always. And when it's smaller, the anxiety doesn't disappear immediately, but it relocates. Because when anxiety has an address, it stops hunting everything. I want to give you 3 pieces of evidence cited deeply. 1, Kahneman and Dearton, 2010, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. They found that subjective emotional well-being correlates with income up to a threshold, then plateaus. Killingworth's 2021 follow-up extended the curve, and the 2023 adversarial collaboration between the two of them refined it further. The combined finding, emotional well-being does not scale linearly with wealth accumulation. There are diminishing marginal returns on well-being beyond a certain wealth level. 2, Frederick Vertiz, Canadian actuary, author of Retirement Income for Life. His central repeated finding, most Canadians with a paid-off home and grown kids need to replace 50 to 70% of their pre-retirement income, not 80 to 100 as commonly cited, because work-related expenses, retirement saving, and housing costs largely disappear in retirement. These are not motivational statistics, they are actuarial ones. The research on what people actually need in retirement consistently shows that the anxiety benchmark and the evidence benchmark are not the same number. For most people, the evidence number is lower. Not always, but for most people. Here's the truth I want to be direct about. Most people who have financial anxiety at this level are not anxious because they don't have enough. They're anxious because they have never given themselves permission to believe they do. And I want you to understand something about that permission. It is not solved by a bigger number. The pattern is well documented in behavioral finance. People reach $1 million, then $1.5 million, then $2, and the anxiety follows them to every milestone. Because the anxiety isn't tracking the portfolio, it's tracking a belief. And beliefs don't update automatically when the spreadsheet does. They update when you decide to let them. What do you actually do? Tool 1, calculate your actual number, not a generic multiple. Your specific gap, your retirement spending forecast, minus CPP and OAS, and any pension. minus your housing cost and reduction at mortgage payoff. Do this once, do it properly, with a planner if needed. Update it annually. Once the number has an address, the anxiety has a boundary. Tool 2, set an information diet. The research on this is clear. The frequency of portfolio monitoring is one of the strongest predictors of investor anxiety and behavioral mistakes. Quarterly review is evidence-based. Monthly review is acceptable. Weekly correlates with elevated anxiety and increased behavioral errors. Daily monitoring is documented to increase anxiety without improving outcomes. Checking your portfolio daily doesn't make you more prepared. It makes you more reactive. Those are opposite things. Tool 3, name the scarcity echo. Write down, not in your head, on paper, where your financial anxiety originated, not what you're anxious about, where the pattern started. A job loss, a family experience, a major financial setback. The act of naming it doesn't eliminate it, but it separates the past event from the present reality. Your brain cannot do that automatically. You have to do it deliberately. If you're someone who has done the work, saved consistently, planned carefully, made the right decisions, and you still lie awake asking whether it's enough, I need you to hear this clearly. That anxiety is not ingratitude. It is not a character flaw. It is a predictable neurological response to financial uncertainty. A pattern your brain learned when you had a lot less. And that has persisted because no one ever told you it was safe to let it go. Here's the reframe I want to leave you with. You are not the $680,000 in your RRSP. You are not the balance or the percentage or the multiple. You are a person who built something real. And the question is not whether the number is big enough. The question is whether you are willing to trust the work you've already done. Here's what I want you to do. Not next month, this week. Step 1, calculate your actual retirement income replacement number, not a generic multiple. I'll link one of my videos that show you exactly how to do that in the description. Step 2, set your portfolio check frequency in your calendar right now. If you're currently checking daily or weekly, move it to monthly. Treat it like a standing appointment, not a habit loop. Step 3, write one sentence about where your financial anxiety comes from. Not what you're anxious about, where it started. One sentence, that's it. You don't need to solve it this week. Just name it. If this hits something for you, subscribe. I publish weekly. Watch this video next. I'll see you there.